Hello and welcome to the Road to ROAS series. My name is Rich Burns. I'm the CEO and founder of ROAS Media. We're a performance marketing agency managing tens of millions of dollars across Facebook, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, and Google ads. And our whole goal with this series is helping you on your journey to making profitable returns on your ad spend, helping you figure out how to set up your campaigns better, optimize better, and avoid many of the pitfalls that most brands make when they're scaling. So let's get started. February 24th, 2022, this is what's on my mind this quarter and this year to really help out those brands that are listening in terms of seeing what they can do for planning in the upcoming months and for the rest of the year. So the biggest topic on everybody's mind, the Apple iOS updates. It's been in every Facebook group, LinkedIn post you can imagine. Everybody's talking about it, trying to find solutions and figure out what they can do about it. I'll say this, after testing this over the last just shy of a year now with the team, this is what we're seeing in the market. Obviously, there is a huge difference in terms of what's being reported in your ad account, particularly Facebook, right? Brands that used to see 2x, 3x, 4x, 6x Facebook, and I'm talking at scale here of like $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 plus. If you're spending less than that, maybe you are being blessed with your 8x's, your 20x's, but it's a whole different ballgame at the biggest spends. Now, post the Apple iOS 14.5 updates, being, struggle street. What I want to remind you guys on is that it's mostly a reporting challenge. And what I mean by that is the biggest factor, the biggest thing that we're trying to guide our brands on looking at is nothing changed overnight in terms of consumer behavior, right? It's not like, hey, everybody decided to change how they do their shopping once Apple released their update. Nobody decided, hey, I'm going to shop differently online because of iOS 14.5. I'm not going to buy these things because they're tracking me with cookies and these guys aren't. Or at least the majority of people aren't thinking that way. We're asking our brands to look at a metric called MER. And MER is your media efficiency ratio. What that means is you take your total revenue and divide that by your total spend across your channels. A lot of brands are going to be seeing a 3x MER or a 4x MER. So you spend $1 across all of your marketing and you see a total revenue of $3 or $4 if you have a 4x MER. And what the majority of brands have noticed, while their spends have stayed the same or fairly constant, and their reported returns, again, keyword on reported, their MERs have been consistent at those levels of spend. So what does that tell you? It means the ads are still effective, but the reporting has changed tremendously. If you can get one takeaway from this video that might change the game for how you think of your ads, because you got to put this into context. We're auditing brands on a monthly basis, and there's probably 7 figures worth of spend coming across our desk on a monthly basis. And the first pain point is always the same. Things have been terrible since Apple iOS. But you go deeper into it. How much have you been spending? What has your revenue been through? Okay, you're making around the same MER. And the light bulb moment starts to switch on, right? So this is the first thing that I really hope you can start realizing in terms of like reviewing the 2021's performance, looking at 2022 and where you spend your advertising dollars effectively. Which brings me to my next point. One of the biggest things I've noticed of all the brands that we've been auditing over the last 12 months is the lack of ability to track everything properly as they need to get their own visibility in making their business decisions. I think for a lot of people listening, you would think that a brand that spends $1 million, $5 million, or $10 million on advertising has the most intricate, complex, can drill down into all the tiny little details in terms of their reporting. But the truth is, most of them that come across our desk for the first time are really lacking in reporting. It's becoming one of our fastest growing service segments that we offer at ROAS Media to help brands get across this, using custom dashboards and building out custom metrics, talking to their teams and operations, their C-suites in terms of what do you guys need to see in the business? How are you tracking it now? What would you like to see? How would you like this to go? How would you like this to look going forward? So that's a really key area that I think a lot of brands have underinvested. I think it's something you should definitely be considering for your 2022 planning and beyond. Get your reporting sorted out. And, I'm trying to cover both sides here between the big brands and the smaller brands. So the earlier stages of scaling out your brand,
the one thing that you can do is just really keep a close eye on how much you are spending across each channel. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that you've spent $2,000 on Facebook, $1,000 on Google, $500 on TikTok, and how much revenue you've made in total to be able to calculate your MER and track it. Even if you're just noting it down in a simple Excel spreadsheet, it's something that you want to be keeping an eye on. If you've been enjoying the content up until this far, please drop a like on the video, share it on your socials, let your friends know. I'm going to start making more content like this as part of our Road to ROAS series to help more brands. But the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is creative. Creative is becoming a much, much bigger piece of the puzzle, more than ever before on paid advertising. I always talk about, hey, brands aren't putting enough creative out there. As you spend more, you need to increase the volume of the creatives you're putting out. You need to be putting out more videos because videos simply sell better than static images most of the time, but you need to keep it fresh. One of the things that I talk about is, hey, you need to cycle in creative themes because some brands just find one winning theme and they will run that until their audience just gets so tired and sick of that same theme, and then they get stuck. Because they're thinking, okay, our performance has dropped. Now they start to think about the different types of themes that they can run. But it might take you a couple of weeks. It might take 1, 2, 3 months to find the next winning theme. So one of the things that you can get ahead of is start working on that early. By themes, I mean, okay, you might have what we like to call the wow factor, right? Everything that you can be packing into a video to build a lot of hype, to build a lot of excitement, or the buzz that you can bring around it. You might try a Q&A style video of all the types of questions that people send in that you want to answer, and maybe like drop in some responses from customers around how it's helped them with those particular needs or how they found that service from your company. Another theme might be particularly around PR, right? Showcasing where you've been featured to build the credibility of the brand, and so on and so on. So making sure that you get onto those themes and figuring out what works for you so you can rotate them is one of the key things. But I wanted to go a level deeper and just talk about some things that are pretty hot in the market right now. So this particular idea is using photo albums as ads on Facebook. And it's been around for a couple of years, plus, but it's starting to become hot in the market again. It's starting to get used by more brands, and we're seeing the performance hold up really well. So it's something that we're pushing again across all of our clients. Takes a bit more time and effort to put them together. And usually a little bit more support is needed in terms of the access settings on the page to get the client to post it if you don't have the permissions to do that. But it's certainly, we've been finding that it's been worthwhile. Other things, I think we just forget sometimes as marketers. We look at, zeros and ones all day long. We're looking at this floods and floods worth of data coming in on the screen and saying, okay, let's try an A/B test here and split and optimize. And marketers are not the only ones that are just guilty of this. It's brands and founders and the teams behind it. It's a human being at the end of that screen, right? So remember this term, and this is what we've coined it, at least, or what we call it internally. And it's our ad camouflage strategy. You see so many ads on a daily basis. You're so turned off by the ads, you'll try and skip them. You'll try and avoid them at any cost. So wild idea, but maybe don't try and create ads. Sounds weird coming from the agency guy, but our ad camouflage strategy is really taking the human aspect of this and thinking, okay, how do we create a two-way street here? How do we add value to the other person on the end of that device, on that screen? The value can be humor. The value can be something entertaining, something that they learn, something that's new, but something that they walk away from and go, okay, this is interesting. It's going to keep my attention. I'm going to keep watching. Because we forget that we all have goldfish attention spans. Next time you're in a crowd or a group of friends, just look how quickly they're scrolling through their phones. It's at an insane pace, right? And think about the next time you're placing an ad or the next time you're thinking about how your ad performance is doing, how much time somebody actually gets to view your ad as they're scrolling through on their screen. So the very first principle is stop the thumb, right? Creators with thumb stopping power, as we used to call it in Facebook. Something first in the video or the static image that is going to capture attention. So I focus more on the videos because that's where a lot of our focus goes with our clients. Those first couple of seconds, the first 3-4 seconds are so crucial. 1, something to get their attention. 2, something to get them interested in viewing more of the ad content. And then you can start selling your product, selling your service, but you still have to keep it interesting. So these are some of the important things to remember. And as well, when you think about brand positioning, you want your brand or your products to be within those first couple of seconds of the video because you're fighting against that goldfish attention span, the goldfish memory, and you only have a few seconds. Really, if you're only going to get a few seconds of exposure on a fair percentage of your audience that is seeing it, then you want it to be memorable. So maybe the next time they see a retargeting ad, they're more inclined to go a little bit further into your funnel, scope this out, check out what you're offering, and go a little bit deeper. And if you can, try and get the sale on the first interaction, right? But this is just something to think about when it comes to the creatives. So there's a couple of ideas for you just in terms of thinking about your creatives going forward. The next thing, while we're on creatives, the next topic that I want to talk about is TikTok. So TikTok just continues to blow up. It's something that is really on my radar in terms of how the platform is growing and where the attention is going to. I think what's really interesting is if you have a look at how much of Facebook's content or Instagram's content is actually starting to become TikTok videos. So this might be controversial right now, but I spend so much time on these platforms. One thing I've been noticing over the last 6 or 12 months is that there's a real challenge for fresh content when it's coming through on Facebook, particularly. You start to notice the same post that you saw a couple of days ago, or like if you remember from 2-3 weeks ago, pop up again. Wasn't reposted by the brand. It's still an old date that it was published, but it's just being shown in your feed, which tells me that there's some struggles around organic content. And I'm starting to see the shift in Instagram where I potentially pose the question, is Instagram starting to become like Facebook was, where Instagram is becoming your day-to-day to share your family and friends and updates and a little bit of content here and there, but TikTok is your entertainment platform. And is Facebook just the place where you say, hey, I got married and hey, I have a baby? I'm really interested to see what friends post, when they actually post, and how that's been changing over time, but something that I'm keeping an eye on. But I will wrap it up in saying that TikTok is one to watch. I haven't seen the performance where I'd like it to be for most of our clients. It's somewhere that we're still dabbling, but it's a very, very interesting space to watch. And I think if they continue to iterate and improve on their ability to give options and better performance for their advertisers, they've got an interesting time ahead for themselves.
Let's wrap this up in terms of what we covered. The key thing to remember with iOS, biggest thing is just affecting your reporting. Know your numbers, know your MER, dashboards, get them up to date, get them tracking everything you need to properly. If you're still confused around your data coming through, that's one of your biggest priorities for 2022, is making sure that you've got all the dashboards that you need set up in a way that you understand your data. Biggest litmus test is how much are you spending across all channels? How much revenue is coming through? Is that ratio staying consistent, your MER ratio? And use that as your primary KPI. Then use your on-platform metrics as your secondary KPI. Creatives, remember that there's a person on the other end of that screen. Make it interesting, make it fun. Give them some value back for giving you their attention, and then try and sell your products and services. Keep an eye on TikTok. It's interesting to see where it's been going over the last couple of years. We've been dabbling with it in terms of performance for our clients. I think cheap CPMs, cheap click-through rates, performance hasn't been there as much as we'd like it to be just yet. But I think 2022 is going to be interesting, and potentially 2023 is where that could really pop. Something that could be so super scalable for e-commerce brands. So that is your wrap up for 2022 planning. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for other episodes coming through from the Road to ROAS series to help you on your journey to profitable scaling and return on ad spend. Thanks, guys.